Kathy to say she's got it. Oh, there she goes. All right, we'll go ahead and call to order the Code Enforcement Committee meeting for May 13th, 2025. And give about 30 seconds and now if Kathy do roll call.
Garfield,
Here.
Mensch,
Here.
DeWitt,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Bro,
Here.
Rolfs, Pence,
Here.
Peterson, Mayor,
Here.
9 present.
That's our replacement.
Yep.
Any public comment?
Sit over there, would you?
Wait a minute. What am I missing here? Oh, I'm on the wrong. I said code enforcement. Let's go with public safety, and that works better. First, we'll have auxiliary report. Eric.
Make sure that mic's on too, Eric. Make sure the mic's on. Thank you.
Good. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A couple things I need to go over. Last month, we had a few calls to attend to. We had that storm that came up and through the area on the 2nd. So I had a couple officers go out and be prepared for any downed trees, limbs, roofs, electrical. Thankfully, the city was safe. Nothing of any notable happened, but we were proactive in that and all was fine. On the 21st, we were called out again to control some traffic. There was an accident on 4th and Walnut, so we assisted the full-time officers in managing the reroute of traffic at that point in time. Nothing to note with that. On the 6th, we did have our May meeting. All the current members attended. We had a new hire that was brought into the meeting as well, introduced, and got to see what it is that we do and attend that meeting. And while we were doing that, I made sure we did our quarterly uniform and materials inspection, making sure that nobody has any problems with their shirts, radios, any of the gear that's required to be used when they're out on the road. Everything looked fine there, nothing else to be brought into. I do need to get a couple name tags, which are minor, but I'm going to get those on the order for these officers. We did some training on traffic stops, leaning more towards what would be different from vehicles versus motorcycles. There's different levels of safety that are brought into effect. You've got someone who's exposed a little bit more, and they may have to get on or off the bike to access driver's license, proof of insurance, what have you. So we went through those different exercises. We went over the upcoming 4th of July parade, and we went over what happened on the Little League parade back on the 3rd. No incidents there to report as far as that. We were told that there's direct deposit now available. That's fantastic, so we offered that to the officers as well. And I was already told by Chief that we have our red light letters, the letters that the auxiliaries must carry in their vehicles for having emergency lights. Those have been taken care of, and we're working on new IDs as they're prepared to expire. That's all I have as far as that is concerned. Do you have any questions? The other thing I want to do is I have an officer that's been with me for nearly 3 years, and he's been very, very proactive, very responsive. He's very knowledgeable. He comes with a very long history and background, going back to '85 as a paramedic, firefighter, EMT. He's still active with the Gilman Fire Department. He's well recognized in that department. He is definitely alpha. When it comes to something that needs to be taken care of, he's there. There's no questions asked. I've watched him throughout the last 10 years that I've personally known him on some incidents at different businesses where something bad happened, and he was in there and took control of it. I know that there was a large collision that happened a couple of years ago that required some kids to be airlifted off of 24. He was first on that scene and actually took over the entire incident, directing traffic, directing the helicopters. And he's taken some of this experience and definitely has brought it into the auxiliary. And so what I want to do is I'd like to request to celebrate him in promoting to sergeant. Andy? So if I guess someone said a motion for that, promote to sergeant.
I'll make that motion. I've worked with him over the years.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Garfield,
Yes.
DeWitt,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Bro,
Yes.
Pence,
Yes.
Mensch,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Rolfs,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
roll call carried.
Appreciate that. With this, I'm going to go ahead and place the chevron pins. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Council members, thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. All right, next we'll move on to the fire department report.
Could you come up to the podium, please, for the microphone? Thank you.
Evening. So last month we had call count for last month. We had 5 fires, 8 first responder or lift assist, 32 ambulance calls, 1 car accident, 7 automatic alarms, and 12 calls for service CO alarms. A total of 65. Training was ground ladders. We utilized the training cans, basement fires, also at the training cans, relay pumping, and the pulling of hose loads, boat training on the river, roof ventilation. We have Matthew Sticknott and Justin Posey passed their EMT basic class. They're still working on their national register. We used the hazmat. We received the hazmat spill containment products that we bought. I actually got to use them today in Crescent. And we participated in the Gold Star Memorial at Legion Park.
So question,
Yes.
how are the new ambulance going?
Good.
Good.
Very good.
Any
Is-
other
is
questions for him?
Sorry. Is the ambulance call, the 32 of them, are they all utilizing our, like, ambulances?
Yeah,
or-
those are all our ambulance calls. Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? No? No. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing from police and fire. And next we'll move on to Chief Starkey.
Good evening. Just before we get started, just want to say that it's been a very smooth transition for us. It's about 2 weeks in so far, and it's gone very well. Lieutenant Harris and I, Sergeant Marcotte, seem to be working together very well, and we've been utilizing out, doing a lot of things. We qualified today. Been taking advantage of the weather. We've had the drone up some, and have been working with that. Did some training with stop sticks that we were recently purchased and got the guys certified to those. We're working on that policy for to get that implemented now. So it's only been 2 weeks, but I feel like we've gotten a lot done, both just internally and as far as productively within the department. So just going back over the calls for service for April, there were 327 total calls for service in April. The officers conducted 61 traffic stops during the month, and there were 13 book-in arrests at the sheriff's office or at the county jail. That was $338 in fees that we paid the county for those bookends. Those were the highlights as far as I saw them from the calls for service. Vehicle maintenance-wise, right now we have a Tahoe that is at Drawley's. It needs a new engine. It's approximately $14,000 to replace the engine. Car's got about 100,000 miles on it, 98,000, I believe. What year is that, Eric? I don't know off the top of my head. They are going to cover it through warranty, though. $11,230.32 of that cost. There was one other minor repair that needed to be done, so our total cost was going to be about $3,000 to
Got a
fix
whole
it.
new motor in it?
Didn't we discuss this one? Or was that a different one?
This
It's
was
a
a
different
vehicle
one.
that was,
Yeah.
believe it was a transmission issue
One-
at first.
Yeah, let's say that one was a transmission.
One car was a transmission, and they ended up trading that in for $9,000 with bad transmission in it.
Yeah.
This is a different car.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'll skip the three and go to the new squad. We did, we're actually in the process of purchasing that vehicle from Ford right now for $39,305.70. We did get a $9,000 trade-in on the other Tahoe that had the transmission issue. So, we got an estimate, or I guess it's for detailing the squads. I guess we have an individual gentleman that details all the squads 3 times a year, $95 a squad. That cost comes out to $2,280 for the year if we decide to continue to do that. As far as we did make some slight changes to our uniform in terms of just wanting to try to get everybody on the same page. It was nothing substantial. But we did go with 2 short sleeve, 2 long sleeve, and 2 pair of pants for all the guys. That's going to come out to about $3,800 at the end of the day. There was $1,000 left over in our last year's clothing line item budget. So, you know, I know we're still in the process of trying to do this year's budget. It's not complete yet, but most of it sounds to me, from my understanding, was most of that money in that line item goes to new vest carriers and vests for the officers. I think we purchased 5 vests last year, they said. So I think looking at that this year, that shouldn't be much of a cost there because most of the people are current with their vests. So training-wise, like I said, we just worked with the stop sticks. So we'll be starting to utilize those in the squads here moving forward once we get that policy in place. We had the drone up, which, you know, I'm sure, you know, we can probably do a demonstration for you at some point. I'm pretty impressed with it. I wasn't real knowledgeable or experienced with the drone, but my understanding is that outside of Lieutenant Harris, Sergeant Smith, and who else is certified to fly it? Just those
That's it.
two? Yeah, just the 2 of them.
Yep.
So, but it's pretty impressive. And so I think, you know, we had an incident in the county last night that we assisted the county with, that we had the ability to utilize the drone. We didn't end up having to use it, but I certainly think that you know, even the functions that it provides at nighttime, I think are even, you know, so I think it's going to be a cost that you know, is well worth it. We also talked about trying to implement some training days for our officers moving forward, probably like on a quarterly basis. I think last night's a perfect example of situations that arise that, you know, we both have talked and feel like we want our officers to make sure that they are prepared as best as can be. And, you know, you can't necessarily always prepare fully for situations that, you know, because every situation's different. But we talked about just you being able to utilize active shooter situations with cover, with the use of the tools that we have, our shields. We talked about trying to get into the school this summer while it's out of session, and just we have some younger guys who aren't necessarily experienced or knowledgeable about the layout of the building. So we just want to make sure that all the officers have a general understanding of the layout of the school once they're inside the building. So that's something we've talked about doing. And then lastly, for me anyways, I know there was some talk at the last council meeting about printers or copiers. Now, I feel like certainly myself and even Lieutenant Harris could use some printers in our offices. You know, I think with the technology we use nowadays, there's a lot of scanning, a lot of emailing, and right now I don't have that capability, and neither does he. I don't think it has to be anything substantial, but I think if we could find something that, you know, is usable for both of us and the roles that we're doing, I think that would be extremely helpful.
You guys don't have the ability to scan it all now?
I have to go down to the main office to scan it down there. I think just from the efficiently, I think it would be work better. I know the cost of some of those things is not significant, but it's something that we will look at once we get our budget. But I think that we could benefit from having
Okay.
those items.
We are going to have debt discussion and finance next week about the printers. We should have some information by then.
So, does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Sure.
So I marked down 3 points. The first one is that there are a couple incidents that I heard from people around town. So do you know anything about the thing that happened during IPC? That in Waseca, the traffic was cut down.
As in today?
Yes.
Yeah, there was a semi that rolled over, and so they had to reroute traffic and close down the highway because I believe they're still out there right now, still with heavy equipment trying to get the vehicle out of the roadway.
They needed any assistance from the Waseca police, or?
I don't recall. No, it's on a state highway, so typically the state
Okay.
police would handle that.
Okay, all right. And then the second thing is that, you know, I know that you started and you're doing a wonderful job. Are you able to, you know, kind of like within the next few months or so, what are the priorities and goals that we wanted to do this year, in terms of from the police standard point that, you know, like according to the current, I don't want to say situations because that's not a good word to use, like the current situations of the town, what are the priorities and goals that we want to achieve in terms of this year? Did you foresee anything that's coming up, or if there is anything that you wanted to, you know, achieve? You don't have to answer me this question
Sure.
right now. It's just something.
Well, I
that
mean,
to
I think
put
those
on
are the
your agenda.
discussions that we've started to have together.
Okay.
Internally. I think we do have some idea of the direction that we want to go. I also think, again, you know, for us is, you know, we want to make sure that our officers are capable, prepared, equipped to best serve the citizens of the city. And again, you know, we've from what I've seen and what I know we have coming up, you know, we want to be able to, for me, the biggest thing for me is I want to be self-sufficient. You know, I want us to take care of our own issues ourselves and not rely on outside help if we don't have to. Certainly there's situations that arise where you have to call in, you know, certain help in certain situations, but, you know, we're sending people to trainings, whether it's, you know, to be certified to teach, you know, how to carry a shield, how to shoot with a shield, how to, you know, rifle, to be trained to, right now the officer who is our rifle instructor is a part-time officer, and so we've got 2 guys going to school next week that will be certified in instructing our officers in rifles. So I mean, for us right now, I think training is a big point of emphasis moving forward, and then certainly obviously this summer we've got some things coming up with the Family Festival and the 4th of July and things of that nature, which we'll talk about. But we have had some initial discussions, and I think we'll continue to build on that.
I got one thing. So the Nettie Davis School down there, is there any way that you could get some sort of training with that, with fire, EMS, as a mock disaster or something, so that way we can prepare ourselves for it?
Sure. Potentially, maybe. I know that we've had some issues with people in there doing some vandalism and things like that. I know the school is it's a priority for them to have that torn down in the near future, because it is, it's just
Hazardous.
yeah, it is for sure. So I don't know what their time frame is specifically, but I know it's in discussion. It's more just trying to find the right person to do the demolition of it. But again, I think the 2 schools that we're going to have people in this summer is a priority for us to get in there.
Okay.
And
I would just like to add that I know a month ago we went through some concerns on the transition. Mr. Harris, I think you did, from what I could see from the outside, an excellent job in the interim, having you step up. And from what from little knowledge I have, I see just observing the 2 of you together, you know, hearing, I applaud both of you for being able to appear to work so well together. to really start off well with the entire team, the force, and just coming together for our community and for us. So nice job and keep it up.
I second that.
Yep.
Thank you too.
Anybody else have any inquiries?
Nope.
The only thing I have is, do we need to do anything with the one with the engine? Do we have to approve that, or is that just, it's already done? You're.
We have not made any decisions
we need to
on that.
approve whatever it's gonna cost. It's, what'd you say our cost is gonna be on that?
4,000?
Our cost is $3,081.65.
Yeah, instead of 14,000, so I would say that would be
Yeah,
an approval.
yeah.
They're gonna,
make a
Rally's is
motion
gonna
on
cover a
that.
lot of that.
I would move that we approve that.
Okay.
'Cause with the new engine, you'll get a new warranty.
Yeah.
And if the vehicle's still in good shape, I think we should do that. So,
All in favor?
All in favor?
Who made the
Aye.
second?
Aye.
I guess it doesn't matter.
You want roll call?
Yeah, okay.
Garfield,
Yes.
Mensch,
Yes.
DeWitt,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Pence,
yes.
Rolfs,
Aye.
Burl,
Yes.
Mayor.
Aye.
Roll call carried.
All right, if nobody has anything else, then I move that we adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Andy.
All right, so we're gonna call the code enforcement meeting to order. Can you do roll call, please?
Burrow,
Yes.
Garfield.
Here.
Rolfs.
Here.
Mensch,
Here.
Pence,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Peterson.
Here.
DeWitt,
Here.
Mayor.
Here.
9 present.
All right. Is there any public comment?
You're on the agenda if you want to just hold.
Do you want me to wait?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Sees that there is no public comment at this time. I'm going to turn it over to Eric for his report.
Thank you, Nick. IDNR flood mitigation, you guys approved bids for 3 demos last month, and those have just started today down at 559 North 4th. So they are in progress. Additionally, IDNR had reached out about a month ago, and they wanted an update on what was happening with all the properties on the list. So originally there were 99 properties. 63 were what we call primary properties. These were owner occupied, and we were focusing on these in the beginning solely to give the owner occupied properties the first go at it. The remainder then would have been the secondary properties, and these were the landlord-owned rental properties. And we went after, I believe, about 11 that were unoccupied. IDNR gave us the okay to go and take care of those. Then we have the remainder, and I don't know the exact number, but you know, we've 75 from 99. We've got 75 down, 3 more in progress, so that's, you know, you're at 78. So what's the progress? What's going on with these remaining properties? You know, how can we move them to close? So I give them an update on everything that I knew going on with the properties. A lot of them are the secondary properties, landlord-owned, tenant-occupied. Those we had put into another grant application, and that grant application has been on hold. Hopefully that will come through. Part of that other grant application with FEMA included the IDNR grant money was going to be the 75 or 25% match, and then FEMA was going to do the 75% primary. There's a few other houses that, you know, they've got contracts on them, and for different reasons they just haven't closed yet. Some of the houses, the owners, you know, took care of it with their FEMA ICC money. They were demolished or elevated. So, you know, it slowed down significantly, and, you know, I think IDNR is looking at it. They renewed this grant to December of 2026. So what happens after that, I don't know. As far as the second grant with FEMA, I've been told by IEMA that it's good to go now. The money's been released, but they asked for an updated schedule last week, and I haven't heard a word yet. Any questions on IDNR flood mitigation? So moving on to poultry ordinance, and Jessica, right? I don't know, you want to go ahead and speak first, and
I can if you'd like, yeah, that's fine. All right. I'm just gonna pull this up. I promise I made it short and sweet, so. My name is Jessica Rogers. I live in the 4th Ward. Just as a little introduction, Elizabeth Yates actually wrote the ordinance up that we presented to Eric, that he got that in front of you guys tonight. I started with calling other areas that are kind of similar to Watseka. I tried Hoopston, but I haven't heard back yet. We kind of been playing phone tag. Limestone, I looked up exactly how large it is, and it's around the same size as Watseka. They do allow hens in town. I spoke with the village clerk. Her name was Ryan. She said the only issue they had was roosters in town, in which they've just asked residents to get rid of them. No further issues after that. I asked her specifically about like odor, predators, all of those things that people are kind of worried about. She said that has not been an issue for them. She also shared that they don't even realize that some people have chickens in their backyard. So they keep it, she said she believes it's about 6 to 10 is what their ordinance allows. I do have her contact information too if anybody wants that and has further questions. Larger cities also like Bradley, Champaign, even Chicago, Brookfield, Oak Park, Aurora allow chickens in town as well, as long as they follow the ordinance. Again, some of those concerns that I've heard about are the noise. Hens are actually only noisy when they're laying eggs, which they do in their coop, so it's a bit quieter, especially in a smaller flock. Another thing was, having a certain amount of animals on your property. I did ask Eric about that ordinance, and it's actually about cats and dogs. So this would not ripple into having to take care of any other ordinances or change anything else. It doesn't exactly mean also that all residents in town are gonna have chickens. It may be just a small area of people or just a couple people that want them. So it's not something I feel like is gonna take over the town, which I feel like is an issue that people have brought up as well. Altogether, I know that I've had a couple people reach out as well saying that they already know of people or neighbors that have chickens in town. My thing is that I would rather come to you guys and ask about the ordinance and work with you on changing it rather than just putting up a chicken coop in my backyard and doing whatever I want. I feel like it's more respectful to the community and those who serve our community. And then just like a final issue that I thought might come up as well, I would volunteer my time to put it together, maybe a committee or something, if we needed help to make sure that anyone who does want chickens follows this ordinance about, the size of the coop, how far it is from property lines, and things like that. So that's pretty much all I have in a nutshell. Are they allowed to ask questions or no?
yeah, you're on the agenda, so they're allowed to ask questions.
So say if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you, or at least try to get the answers.
I guess my biggest concern is if we allow chickens, then who's gonna come in and say, well, I wanna have a duck, or I wanna have a turkey?
Right, and that's why it would
my-
have to be specific, right?
Yeah, but you know how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as the people already having them, I have one across the street from me now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it, but other than the fact that the rules are you can't have them.
Exactly.
And those are the people that are gonna ruin it for you guys because they're not supposed to have them.
Mm-hmm.
And here they are doing whatever they want.
Yeah, which it does. It kind of ruins it for everybody. It's
Yeah,
not
and you just,
entirely fair for people that are trying to go about it
go
the
by
correct
the
way.
rules.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my biggest concern is if we allow chickens, then what's next? I got a pygmy goat. Can I have my pig?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm being serious. I
Yeah.
mean,
No,
they're-
it's a
a
valid.
friend of mine has one. They're cute little things, but they don't belong in town.
No.
If you want to have chickens, move out in the country. I know I'm a bad guy, but I just foresee a lot of, chicken gets out, the neighbor's dog eats your chicken. Who you mad at?
Yourself, because you decided to have chickens.
That's not the way it works. I just talked to a guy today. The same thing happened to him. His neighbor and him been friends for 30 years. His neighbor's chicken got out. This is a different town. His dog ate the chicken. They haven't spoken since, and they're just about ready to start fighting one another.
Yeah.
So you've ruined a 30-year friendship over a chicken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Honest to God night.
Yeah. I mean, to each their own as well.
But you get what I mean? That's what I'm concerned about. Is
Yeah.
I had the same concern, not just geese or ducks, but now, how about a goat? How about a pig? Where do we stop? We start with one barnyard animal. That's why you get farmland or get a small property outside of town.
Could I ask a
And
question?
I'm especially against a rooster because
no rooster. Oh, there ain't.
I have
right.
a farm that's half a mile behind me, and on certain days in the summer when the windows are down, I can hear that rooster in my house. So just because somebody 2 doors down, the guy next door don't care, I'm 2 doors down, I don't want to hear that rooster.
There's no way. No roosters.
Yeah.
No,
You
and
wake
that's
my
what
wife up, and you're going to be in law.
the ordinance. It's nothing. We're not saying here's the ordinance. You please just approve this. It's something that I think that we can work on together. It's something that I'm asking for not a complete no to. It's something that we can continue a discussion on. So
I'd be all for continuing discussion, but I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I work uptown. I pump gas, so I talk to a lot of people that live in Watsika, and all I've heard is negative.
yeah, and those are people you don't have to worry about having chickens.
But they're the people that don't want chickens in their backyard, in their neighbor's backyard either.
Yeah.
They don't want to. My uncle used to raise chickens. I know what chickens smell like. And then once the chicken stops laying eggs, now you're going to take little Johnny outside and let him watch you kill that chicken and throw it in the spill. I mean, honestly, what are you going to? Well, seriously, what are you going to do with the chicken when it's done laying eggs?
We have a friend with a farm that we take it to, but
Eric, is there any other ordinance on livestock?
So, yeah, I thought this would come up. So, the only livestock that is prohibited is poultry.
Really?
The way your ordinances are
I
written,
could probably go get a cow.
unless Chief,
Please don't.
if you
I'm
know of
joking.
it- of a-
I'm
or Mark,
joking.
if you know of another Watsika ordinance that prohibits anything besides poultry,
Yeah.
there is none. You can have horses, cows, pigs, goats,
So
sheep,
just as specific as
you
it
name
is.
it. Am I right,
It's
Mark, or not?
Specific to chickens.
It's
Eric?
poultry.
Has
Say something. Back in the day when, Ted Horner was the mayor, my son had pheasant, he had some quails, and he had a chicken for a 4-H project. The only thing, they kind of were against me having it, but because it was for a 4-H project, it can also be educational for young kids to learn how to care for those animals if they're gonna show them at the fair or something. I know I'd rather listen to a chicken cluck than listen to a bunch of yiping, barking dogs in the neighborhood. At least the chicken will shut up when the sun goes down, the dogs don't.
Okay. Is that it?
That's all I have, yes,
Eric.
unless you guys have
Thank
more
you.
questions.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
go ahead, Nick.
So, is there been any other livestock in the city of Watsika?
So there's flocks of chickens.
Horses.
Actually,
Besides chickens.
well, I want to touch on the poultry. There's poultry in town.
Okay.
Obviously, they're not compliant. When I get a complaint, I give them notice that they're not compliant. If the complaints continue, then you got to go to citations. But to be honest, the complaints are few and far between. I mean, it's basically just folks telling me, hey, do you know about the chickens at such and such house?
And Nick, to answer your question, yes, we've had horses in town, we've had cows in town, and yes, we've had pigs in town.
And
Yes,
I know,
Nick, we
and I know
have.
of a pig.
Okay.
I've had chickens next to me. They
Yeah, it's been a
they
couple
turned
years.
to being ducks, then
Yeah.
guinea hens, and peacocks, and then we started on the 4-legged animals. So we've had other
So-
animals in town, and when I complained, little was done because I think everybody at that time, where we're going back 12 years ago or more, kind of passed the ball around. Who's going to be responsible for getting these other animals taken care of. And I think they went from the code to the police, and it wound up being taken care of when we had a flood.
Yes.
And the whole yard was flooded. The animals were stranded inside their pen, and I think DNR came and took them and took care of it.
Hey, Don?
Yes.
I can testify to that because I was one of them that took the horses out of there.
Yeah.
I'd like to read a email that we got from Mayor Harwood. I got his permission to read it during tonight's meeting. We currently have an ordinance prohibiting certain types of animals and livestock in town. I understand that allowing chickens in town is on the agenda for tomorrow night. I can't attend the meeting, that's why I sent him this email. I am opposed to any ordinance allowing chickens in town. Chickens belong in the country, not in town. They are noisy, and if not properly maintained, they cause foul odors. Who will be responsible if the chicken gets loose and the owner is not available, or the ordinance is ignored in some other way? Animal control won't do it. The police won't do it. So will the code enforcement do it? Question mark. If not, then who catches them? Who enforces the ordinance? It makes no difference who wrote the ordinance covering everything that may occur. Someone will ignore the ordinance. Someone will decide that the ordinance does not apply to them. It is my understanding that there are chickens now in town already. If I knew where, I would tell you. If that is true, it just confirms what I stated, that someone will, and possibly will, already ignoring the ordinance. If this is allowed, what animal will be allowed in town next? Someone will approach the city wanting to allow some other animals in town. I sat in the mayor's chair for 8 years. There were times that the council had to make difficult decisions and tell the public, no, this is one of those times for you. I believe that the council will make the right decision and not allow chickens in town. I am sure several supporters will be there. Unfortunately, those who agree with my position probably won't be there. If you choose to allow, you have an opening in the floodgates and many problems that allow chickens will bring. Think of the neighbors and the neighborhood. These animals belong in the country on a farm. That was from Mayor Harwood.
So going back, there is no ordinance against any livestock besides poultry, correct?
I want to ask Mark, maybe he knows, didn't we have someone redo our ordinances and stuff? Go through them and expunge some of them and stuff like that? Because I know we had ordinances on horses. That was when Lee Badger was alderman. And the people that had the horses in town were allowed to keep them, but there'd be no more. So apparently we've lost that somewhere, or it's been removed.
That was my understanding too, that there was the only thing that was allowed, and that was from the officer that was doing code enforcement before we had another code enforcement. He told me they were allowed up to 2 chickens, but now apparently that's not in there anymore. So, because I remember telling him that while I was on one call, I saw a yard that had chickens in, and he said, oh, look, here's a copy of the ordinance that says you can have up to 2 chickens. But that was 6-7 years ago. Now apparently we have one that says you can have anything, but I knew there was one about horses back. So it sounds like we need to.
Well, the time I'm talking about is the lot that we're looking at to put a well on.
Used to be 2 horses
There was chickens there, there was horses there. The alderman I'm talking about lived across the street, and they didn't get rid of them, they were allowed to keep them.
Right.
And then back in behind,
CIP is.
well, yeah, down there too, but
Yeah.
also back in behind McDonald's, that area's all growing up now. That was pasture and there was horses back there.
Then on Market Street.
I remember on North Street where you're talking about, Mr.
Becca, I'm sorry you're not on the agenda. Sorry.
Back to ordinances and livestock. So untethered or unconfined livestock is not allowed. What's that tell you? If it's confined, it's allowed?
So then we need to update the ordinance, is pretty
Can we
much the way
table
I'm
this till
looking at
next
this.
month?
I mean, I'd like,
Yeah.
I'm okay with making a motion if that's okay. But before that, Jessica, first of all, I want to thank you for coming forth to us and not just doing what you want and trying to make a change. That takes a lot more strength than anybody else, and I appreciate that from you. Thank you. With that said, my motion is against it, and I would actually like to recommend that we make a motion to not allow any livestock in our community, including chickens and similar.
Okay.
And just change the ordinance to that, no livestock allowed.
I would second that.
Okay? We have a motion and a second.
We got a motion and a second. Can we do roll call on that, please?
Miller,
Yes.
DeWitt,
No.
Mensch,
Yes.
Garfield,
Before I vote, just remember, the existing livestock in town will be grandfathered in, such as horses.
What?
How are we gonna know if they've got them now or not, if they're, or the
That's-
chickens?
Yeah.
Who's got horses?
I'm just saying, that livestock in town will be grandfathered in.
I didn't think
Are you including poultry in that also?
No?
Okay,
I'm going by what our existing ordinance says now.
okay.
Do we have a copy of our existing ordinance? I would like to see a copy of our existing ordinance before we vote on anything, because I think there's a lot of confusion here.
Probably I'm voting no.
You made the motion, right?
Okay.
I mean, I'm okay with changing the motion to table it for the moment, if there's more discussion needed.
I think we need to, go through our files and make sure we know what we're talking about before we just.
That's fair. And I did not realize we had horses in town already, and we do need to figure out what we're gonna do with the current chickens that are living in town.
Correct. I
Agree.
think we just need to word it right and do it right, so.
Okay, retract motion and table.
So you're
Correct.
rejecting your
For the
motion?
Yes,
Okay. So we're gonna table it,
table it. Retracting my motion to table for now.
okay?
Kathy has it.
Table till next meeting, next month,
That's fair.
next code meeting?
At least until we get some homework done on this. So.
Okay, next meeting.
Okay, table till the next code meeting.
Okay, thanks, Jessica. I know you put a lot of work into it.
Thank you, Jesse.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for
Thank you.
doing it the right way.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Moving on, Lakeview Park geese management, another poultry issue. So y'all got a copy of our license. We got a license to manage the eggs in the nest, to be able to remove them, so that we don't have any more local geese hanging around here. This has been a big help in the past. We've had to hire it out to an outside company, and now we can do this, manage this in-house. So it's a big plus. I know Lakeview Park and geese is a big issue, especially with the park improvements coming down the pike. We continue to work on it with managing the nest and the laser that we use. So I think we're making an improvement down there. So.
I will make a comment about that. We have made improvement. There's not near
I am so
The geese
grateful
that-
for it.
that we used to have
Yeah.
a few years ago, to just
It's
not anywhere near that now.
it's
Eric,
nothing we're never going to be able to walk away from. It's a constant battle.
Okay, Eric, I have a question. The group that was doing it, how many nests do they take out?
I have no idea. That would be a Lauren question. You see Lauren filled out the application.
Okay, I see in the
I
number
will
10
thank
on
Rich
the-
Kingdon. He's the one that turned them on to these
Okay,
folks.
I see number 10 on here, we're allowed 4 goose nests and the eggs that are in them. And that's, by the number of geese we had around here, I don't know if 4 is really going to, it'll slow them down a little bit, but
Well, and nests are missed. I mean, today I probably counted 4 flocks. I don't know what you call them. different families, 4 different families,
Well,
you
there
know,
was-
that have hatched.
There was 3 of them by that little bitty pond over there where the storage buildings are at
Oh.
yesterday morning.
I will say they nest in strange places. I seen one over by the railroad tracks behind Smith Realty. He was up in a big old tree with a nest up there. So yeah, it's going to be, it's just another tool in the tool chest.
Okay, I mean, if we get our maximum of 4, can this other company do more, or are we limited?
I didn't ask the question.
Okay. I think you understand what I'm getting at, that 4 nests may not be enough to thin the flock out.
It's a start.
Again, I had researched that. I heard that Kingdom's had the same permit, and I couldn't find a thing. And then Rich had the guy's name and made a phone call, sent an email, and he got right back. And Lauren
Yep.
sent out the app, and here it
It's
is.
a start.
So, yeah, just another step forward. 100 West Walnut, the temporary roof. So, temporary roof that we did, you know, I'll say it right out, it was a failure. The reason we went for the temporary roof was because when Carlisle was in there with their engineer, and the engineer seen the water running into the building and leaking, his recommendation was that we try to get that building dried in ASAP, because wet wood does not nearly hold the strength of what dry wood would. So wet wood bends easier than what dry wood does. So, you know, the urgency was there to try to find something temporarily, because at that time we had the Renew group that was looking at possibly jumping in there and taking over the building and saving it. So we contracted with the firm. The contract was $12,685. He put all his product down onto the roof. It was not completed, but he asked for half the money down, which was reasonable, $6,345. Throughout the winter, as you're well aware, one was a roll that blew off. It wasn't fastened, but then some of the temporary roofing material that was fastened started to blow off, and we all agreed that it was a failure. So the contractor agreed to reimburse us $2,971.72, and then the remainder would be to cover his material cost. I just want to bring everybody up to date. I know there's been a lot said about this temporary roof, and it was a failure.
So we basically ended up paying for the material, correct?
Correct.
And he ate his labor.
And he detailed it out. You know, he even threw in like his rental lift and a couple other things, you know, but basically he's just looking for his materials back out of it.
Do you have a total for that? Do you have a total cost for that?
So the total cost was $12,680.
No, I meant
The material cost.
the material cost.
That would have been, the balance sort of would have been $3,373.28. Sorry.
So, I think since we have a new team now, we really need to start thinking about like what we're gonna do with that building, what information we need to gather together to, you know, having a direction in terms of, you know, keep getting the temporary fix. It's something that, you know, we all can discuss and just open to ideas, gather information. Doesn't have to make any decisions, but once we have more information, because I remember way back then we did a engineering structure research and something like that. That was how long ago?
Oh, and Mark can attest it. This has been going on
oh,
since you were on council.
This
So
was back in my first term, so you're talking, well, how long? It's when you were here, so that was 12 years ago?
Yeah, should have been tore down then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm working on options.
Okay.
You're talking 12 years ago.
Since I became mayor, I'm working on some options for that building.
How long are we
Absolutely.
gonna work on it before we tear it down?
Don't know, depends on the funds.
Yeah.
Till it falls down and kills somebody?
I hope not,
Yeah.
Liability.
unless you wanted the city to pay $500,000 to tear it down,
Yes, I do.
right now.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Tomorrow.
is that a motion?
I'll make that motion, absolutely.
Can I say something before we go any further? Can we put it on a ballot and let the public decide that live in the city? Because there is people that want to save it, there is people that want to take it down. I have no problem doing whichever. I'm neutral on this. Coming from the outside in, before this even started, I think you need to let the public decide what they want to do with this building. If they want to take it down, by all means, we'll take it down. If they want to save it, we'll save it. I think that's fair enough.
I'll just say this, whoever wants to save it can save it on their own dime. The city shouldn't be footing a bill to save a building that should have been torn down 12 years ago.
20 years ago.
I'm working on getting help to do both. And if you can give me some more time instead of 3 weeks, I would appreciate it.
I'm not willing to, but if they are, that's fine. Like I said, it should have been tore down a long time ago.
I agree.
I made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll make that second.
Okay? So you're willing to spend $500,000 of taxpayer dollars
I don't
to
think
tear it down?
$500,000's gonna get it. I think it's gonna be more than
Do we,
$500,000.
well, first, before we move any further, do we have an exact amount?
We have no exact amounts. We had Lee Farms Excavating, gave us several, a couple drive-by estimates on it. The last one was not a drive-by estimate. He looked at it in depth, and I believe he was at $300,000 approximately. That's only the Lee Farms Excavating. We had an engineer look at it because the wall that adjoins the neighboring building to the west, it's a party wall, or however you want to say it. So we've got to maintain that wall. So then you're getting into, there's tuck pointing work needs to be done on the brick on the foundation on the bottom. And then also he said that there would be some brackets required or some sort of attachment to attach the wall to the adjoining neighbor's roof so that the wall wouldn't fall down. Those would have to be designed by the engineer, and then that would have to be put out to bid, as well as how much do you want to do to the wall that's remaining now. It's going to have plaster because that's an interior wall of the JCPenney side, so you got plaster that's going to need to be removed, or the weather's gonna deteriorate and it's gonna look like not too good a thing there. So then are you gonna get into tuck pointing and whatever else needs to be done to that wall?
Yeah, I know it's gonna be expensive.
And then
That's all my money.
also the capping on the top.
Yeah.
And anything that remains on the neighboring side has to be addressed also.
How long do you wanna wait before it falls down?
Those numbers are all, we have no idea what they are.
I made the motion.
I mean, there is a quote here Nick had in his files of 295,000. Similar to Nick though, I just don't feel like I have enough knowledge right now, being so new into this, to make an educated decision whether I feel like it should be torn down or not. I do agree with you, Charlie. I think it's a liability, and I'm concerned on that as well. But I also know there's a lot of support to keep this building. I just don't feel like I personally can have enough knowledge at today to make a decision to vote
Well,
one
if
way or
there's
the
so
other.
much support, then why did the group that was going to save it they're not gonna save it now? They pretty much disbanded.
I didn't know that.
'Cause they
I
lost.
don't know that for a fact.
I didn't know that
Well,
either,
Randy
so that's why I
Mulder's
don't know.
done
I'm just saying today I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that for a fact,
No,
and we
Randy's
kind of
done.
pulled the rug out from underneath them. We voted to save the building, and then with the election and everything, it all got kind of tabled.
Well, like I
So-
say, you guys know where I stand.
And if Benny has
Changed my mind.
If Benny's working on some options, I'd love to hear
Yeah.
those. And similar to our chicken vote, I'd like to table for now, just until I learn more. That's all.
Yeah, and
I'm trying to get help funding it to tear it down, rather than use taxpayer dollars.
Be great.
I like Nick's idea of doing a vote, but how would you do that? I mean, there's no election coming up, and how would you do an election like that? And like Jeff said, I'd like to see numbers both ways and give us, I mean, it's been 12 years, let's give 30, 60 days and get some more info and at least know that we made a educated decision instead of.
A knee jerk.
I think we need to get Mr. Lee up here and get specific numbers of what it is gonna cost, so.
And then also, like for Benny,
Cause you're gonna have to have that too, Benny.
Yeah.
You know, if we get any kind of, state or federal funding to help us,
That's what I'm trying to do.
yeah.
I've made calls and I'm trying to get a response.
But we need
Whether we can get anything or not, I don't know, but I'm gonna try.
we need more specific numbers as to what it is gonna cost, so.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Mensch,
What's the specific motion and second?
Tear it down.
To tear it down and spend whatever it costs to tear it down.
Okay.
Mensch,
No.
Garfield,
Yes.
Miller,
No, we need more information.
Peterson,
Not at this time.
Pence,
Not at this time.
Bro,
Not at this time.
Rolfs,
Not at this time.
DeWitt,
Yes.
Mayor.
No.
Roll call failed. 7-2.
Okay, do we need to have Eric proceed with trying to get more firm figures for us?
We have pretty firm figures. We have
Do they need to be
figures
updated or
close
anything?
I
enough.
can bring more information the next meeting.
Why don't
That would be
you
great, yeah.
Yeah.
and
We can.
You
touch
probably
base
would
with Lee
benefit by
Excavating and
having
make sure that their prices are
you're
Up to
thinking you're
date.
looking
up to date.
Yeah.
I can do that.
And just share with us new members. Those who've been on, you have this information. To me, it's
Absolutely.
It's new.
More of basically, I'm pretty sure you're gonna have to have a state permit to be on that road to take that down. So you're gonna need to put that in there along with the wages that are gonna be lost at Traditions and the Elks and to move
Okay.
power lines.
Okay.
So
That was already figured in the original
you just wanna make
demolition
sure
quote.
it's
It was
all
figured.
in there.
That's good thoughts.
There's also the electrical lines in the back, you know, we had talked to Ameren about that, and, their best offer was to lean the poles to move the wires a little bit, further away from the building during demolition, but, they were not able to remove the wires or kill the power either, so. But they did offer the solution of leaning the poles to the north and get the wires away from the building and wrap them also. So.
Okay.
Any more? Thank you for the discussion on the building.
Thank you.
117 West Walnut, sign proposal. Everybody has copies of the pictures, right?
Are you gonna explain first?
Pardon?
I didn't know if you wanted to explain first.
Well, I brought it, I asked Sonia and come up here and bring this forward to you guys. It does not, they're proposing to put a used silo feed mill type bin as their sign. That doesn't really fall within our sign ordinance. I mean, it's used, you know, it just doesn't fall within the sign ordinance. In their behalf, this is, you know, this is their theme. It's
Don?
a silo pub, obviously,
Don?
and then they're also looking to redo the other sign that is on the building with windmill blade. So, you know, I get the theme, but I'm like, you know, before I put a rusty old silo on Walnut Street, I asked them to come and bring it to you guys.
The way that it is in the photo right now is not the way it's actually physically going to look when it's done. We do want a little bit of patina look to it, just that it does fit into more of the landscape type thing. What it actually looks like right now is just a figure of where it's going to be. Don't look at the characteristics of the silo itself. It will be cleaned up, it will be patinaed, but not rusty, and it will be clear coated so that it will not continue to rust and look garbagey. Our intent there in town is to bring, what do I want to call it, artistic to it, like what we did at the back wall, the one we share with the driver's ed.
The DMV.
We want neat things in town that people drive by and say, hey, look at that, that's cool. We don't want normal. We don't want the bright lights like what the gas stations have got. We don't want the garbage signs like a lot of places have got. We want something that fits into the community and makes people stop and look at our town, is what we're trying to do. And granted, the picture itself, this is just a picture. We went out, it's physically taken off the farm where it's at right now. It hasn't been cleaned up, it hasn't been touched up. The only thing that happened was we took the ladder off to kind of show kind of what it would look like in the position. But as far as what it physically looks like in the photo, it's not going to look like that. It's gonna be done tastefully, it will be done clean, and like I said, it will be clear-coated to make sure that it does not disintegrate in town.
And we do have to put a concrete underneath.
Yes, it will be embedded in concrete.
Right.
So it can't move, can't blow over. It is, go ahead.
So it won't blow away.
Right.
No,
Yes.
right.
Get tornadoes.
But when we first approached Eric about it, he said that we had to get a sign engineer.
Now, Eric,
There's-
I did.
There's no sign engineers around here.
Just, and this, I did not make copies, my apologies, but I did finally go and find online. It is hard to find any of these manufacturers that have got instructions on how to mount these things. But I did physically find this one today. I lucked out, because I kept digging and digging and digging, and it does say the 7 or 8 foot by 8 foot pad with the anchors and everything else, as far as wind and everything that way.
Right.
From the pictures at the specific location?
The picture is in the yeah, it would be the same place where the sign that was existing for the Silo Pub was. That one will be removed and this one will be put in place.
So any blocking, I don't know, the ordinance on that visually as you're pulling out to the street, doesn't it come back anymore to free up? Just a thought on that,
I don't think pulling out that sidewalk's wide enough that I don't think.
They would be within their building setback lines. I mean, it's the B2 business district, so, you
Right.
know, they're allowed to build right up to their property line, which would be the back edge of the sidewalk.
Okay.
What you're asking is when someone pulls out of their parking lot onto the highway, can they see down the sidewalk?
The physical view.
Right.
Yeah, and it would be to where you can physically see down.
Being here right now, who's ever in their vehicle would have to be out onto the sidewalk before they could see around it if some kid happened to be riding his bicycle down the sidewalk or something like that.
Well, this one's not really positioned right.
That's all I
It
mean.
would be
Right, you're looking
moved
there, you
over.
look pulled back a little bit so that view is open.
No, I understand what you're
Yes,
saying, yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And that's one thing that we could do with a dead object, set it in place and see what it physically is, Eric? To agree on
Sure.
Right.
if that makes sense. I totally understand what you're saying. We want safety for everybody.
Right.
I know when our business reimaged from Amoco to BP, of course we had engineers from Amoco and BP taken, but then the state got involved and they have some real regulations, and we went through a lot just changing the top of the sign, and we finally had to get it grandfathered, you know, in, because once you get close to the state right of way, they own it.
Right.
And they are very strict about their regulations.
Okay.
So
Further back than our sign, isn't it? Because the width of the sidewalk?
our sign is still on our property,
Oh, is it?
but, you know, if it
Oh,
were,
I know what happened. I was there, remember?
yeah, it's, there's a lot of regulations, and maybe I can help you find who to contact at the
That'd be
state.
great.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're talking a state and federal highway there, so you get a lot of people involved in it, so.
But the other one's no problem, right?
Pardon?
The one on the building's no problem, is it?
Born in the building, no problem.
Okay.
I heard you didn't like my idea, huh?
I asked them
the
to
silo.
bring the rendering of the one on the building just to convey the thought
I
of the
like- I
theme
think
that
it
they're
looks kinda
going
cool.
for.
This one I like too, but
Yeah.
I just, yeah, it needs to be polished up. You're not gonna.
Obviously, yes, yeah.
I mean, that looks like it just come off the farm.
And it will be. That's part of it.
But you gotta, I know, no, I
But
get
yeah.
no, I think it's cool myself. I like it, but
I think it's very
I only
unique.
got one vote.
Well, and like I said, that's what we're kind of looking for. Stuff that I hate driving through small towns, and you drive through, and there's nothing to stop you
forward
and
to,
remind
yeah.
you of that town.
Right.
And that was our whole purpose as far as
Wall.
what we're trying to do with the wall and everything else is make people go, wow, I remember what Sika now type of thing.
I just don't want you to get all through and then a state official comes in and goes, no,
Yeah.
can't have it there.
Right.
My suggestion was, that they didn't like, by the way, to put it back by the mailboxes on the
Well, we
south end of
did
the
like
parking
that as
lot.
long as we can block it so we don't have the traffic coming through our parking lot for the post office.
Oh, there we go.
No. Well, but that loses the intent. We're trying to draw customers into the silo.
Right.
And that was the purpose of putting the silo pub.
It would
It's
still be seen-
replacing the ugly sign that is there. Because right now, we had that goofy little
Yeah.
nasty thing that's been there for eons. And that's what we need is advertisement
Improvement
for.
over what's up there, as far as I'm concerned. I think that looked nice.
What's
I
that?
said anything's an improvement over what's up there.
Right.
It's gonna be
Exactly.
Cool out there.
Are you gonna push this all the way to the east of your property?
It would be,
Because right now, the sign
Right
we
next
have
to the
there
concrete
is-
block.
it comes out a little way, yes, it would be back farther, more into the corner.
Help some get.
Yes,
right,
with the
back.
view and everything else. Yes, because our intent also is to probably put, and she loves her picnic tables, put a picnic table on, in between the building and the sign, to be able to sit next to it
Where
also.
it's- where-
On the west
right,
side.
located
Yes,
at now.
yes.
And
Yeah,
plus
with-
the
with
whole
legs
purpose
and
of,
the bottom
Hang on.
part hanging down there, it would concern me about your sight view if he was pulling out onto the highway from your parking lot.
No, and I understand what you're saying,
Right,
yeah.
right.
And the-
Not supposed to have kids riding bicycles downtown, but it happens.
right. Okay. And the whole purpose was we want to do the asphalt for the parking lot, which is a big expense.
Once we did the sidewalks, we had to change the pitch and different things that way, which in turn, now we're going to have to do the asphalt. When we go to do the asphalt, we're gonna have to do this at the same time. So that's why we're trying to get everything
Right.
all at the same time so we can have it actually physically done, because we're getting a lot of potholes. We had to have up by the bar itself cut out in order to get the new sidewalks in, and now the insurance company's jumping us about getting it repaired, but like I said, we want to do everything all at once rather than having to tear it back up to change something.
Is your insurance company okay with putting this up?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I would say as long as Terry can connect them with it's within the federal and state highway regulations and
I would think, just looking at it quick, if it passed code, probably pushed back to about where the Christmas tree is would probably be where you'd have to be. That way you're out of any kind of city or, state or federal
Okay.
right of way.
And is that something that I can work with Eric and like I said, do a mock-up and
Yeah.
see how it plays out?
Yeah, because we probably know somewhere where the state right-of-way actually is, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's not the front door of the mail, or the post office.
I think it's our front door, yeah,
Yeah.
literally where the glass is.
Yeah.
Yes.
If they decide to widen, yeah.
You could almost temporarily set this, if you have the silo, just bring it in and set it in, just temporarily, see how it looks, that look right there, or?
Can but can't, because
Can.
the problem is moving it and incurs us more cost.
Yeah, let's not do that.
You gotta have it,
Look at Eric
I
Hale,
can see it not leaving.
Once I get it there, I don't wanna move it.
we'll let you know when Eric's gone.
Terry, if you've got a contact at the state, if you could turn me on to that, I'd be happy to reach out to the state and see if they got anything that
Personally,
would
I like it, guys. I think
prevent
it's
it.
cool.
Otherwise, they're here tonight, I'm looking for consensus from you folks, yay or nay.
I like the idea. My only concern was that it was gonna rust and run down. I'm glad to hear you guys are gonna clear coat it and make sure it doesn't do that.
yeah.
Everything that we're trying to do in taste and
I
and
ran
keep
into
it.
the same thing as Terry. I owned a business years ago, not in this town, another one, and bought just a temporary sign that you change the letters on,
Mhm.
and found out that you can't have flashing lights on the top because that is considered a
Distractions.
road sign. People might turn into your parking lot because they think, and the state came along and told me you can't have the flashing lights. So I know they're out there looking at it. So yeah, I'd like to see Terry and make sure we get it done right the first time and don't have to do it and move it again. I mean, do we need to vote to have Eric and Terry find the numbers, or we just table it till next month when they got all that?
I would say, as long as they're moving forward with it, we wouldn't have to do anything until they get everything in order, then bring it back
Yeah.
once they have.
You gotta get it
Done,
in
though, right?
to have it.
Well, they can't do
Parking lot
anything
done.
until they get all necessary permits
I
from the
guess, yeah.
state.
If
And
they
once
have
they
to
get
have.
that, then we can move forward on the, I got no problem with it.
Yeah.
If we
I don't
wanna
either.
Have a vote tonight, contingent, I'll just do this, I'll make the motion, we approve this, contingent with all the state and federal guidelines pertaining to the right-of-ways.
That work?
Signage, yeah.
That sounds fair.
I'll second it.
Can we add anything in there about the visualization, that
Well, that'll
clearance
come
when you
with
come
the
out.
state, I guarantee you.
Yeah, absolutely it will.
Right.
They'll be our worst enemies.
They'll be the largest critical.
Right.
So.
I'll second.
All right, so we got a motion and we got a second. We have roll call, please.
Bro,
Yes.
Garfield,
Yes.
Rolfs,
Yes.
Mensch,
Yes.
Pence,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
DeWitt,
Yes.
Mayor.
Aye.
Roll call carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Appreciate
you.
it, guys.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
You guys have
Nice
done a really
place.
great job building that business up.
And if that
Thank
doesn't
you,
work
guys.
out, you can put it
trying.
back by the mailboxes.
What's that?
I said if the state says you can't do that, just put it back by the mailboxes.
Then you got the railroad.
I was just gonna say, we got the railroad. Yeah.
Okay, moving on to 319 West Hickory, last item on the agenda, Crossroads Garage. And Shane can jump in there. He's been down there and talked to these folks. I've been down there several times. Previous code enforcement officers have been down there. It's a junkyard. That's what it is. They're good folks, you know. They'll talk to you. They'll clean it up, but it doesn't take long, and it's back to the same condition. Used tires. There's a couple of semi-trailers that are being used as cargo containers. Junk cars, scrap metal. You know
I
the
was
list.
through there 2 days ago and noticed a stack of tires out there.
Yeah, I mean, and I bring up the tires. Oh yeah, we recycle those. I'm like, recycle them. Well, we got to wait till we get a load. I said, it looks like you got a load. You know, it's just, you know, I think everybody's in agreement. A fence would help. They've got a quote on a fence. It was $25,000. I've talked to a couple aldermen, and you know, you guys agreed that you know, maybe we could use a facade grant to help them out. That'd be another $5,000. So I took a facade grant application down there. But, you know, for sure there's something needs to be done. I told them that they were gonna be on the agenda tonight and we were gonna discuss it, so.
From being in this business for many years, there's several state agencies that will be looking over their shoulders, and including EPA. And we don't need them in town breathing down our throats because of that. So, you know, we pay for tire removal fees. You know, you're not supposed to keep them outdoors on site. You know, I realize that junk cars is a problem. You know, you bring one in from an accident and it's a mess. You know, we had to constantly try to keep our place cleaned up. We were very fortunate because we had a city yard that we could put a lot of stuff in, and if they're going to stay in the business, they need a yard. So,
And not right there in town, right?
Yeah, no.
Have you been down there?
yeah, I have. I've went by it. I realize.
Do you have any luck, Shane?
Yes and no. So I stopped there on the 5th. That was one of my first stops that I made. We had a lengthy conversation regarding customer vehicles, wrecked vehicles, vehicles that were brought in from a crash. And his answer just came back to, I've got somewhere to take this, but I would like to have some time to work with the customers. My suggestion was, very plainly, is that anybody that I have ever worked with in my previous career in the tow company, they had a yard.
Yeah.
It was secured with at least a 6-foot fence. We had a lengthy discussion about that, and then I asked him if he would have a conversation with Eric going forward, because he seemed to be interested in exploring that.
Okay.
And Eric had that conversation. It was my understanding that they planned on being here tonight. So that's where we're at.
I mean, the only place comparable is, that I could think of offhand, is Mike's Service Center. They've got a
They do.
fence around it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see why they shouldn't be held to the same standard.
Are they, how is that zoned, Eric? Is that zone commercial?
It's M1, I believe.
M1?
Manufacturing. That was part of the QSE.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we let Blunk make the mess down there, and then that finally got cleaned up, and now we got another mess. It's like, that needs to be, yeah, I drove by, well, DL called me, and I went down there, it's like, Yeah, it's a train
So
wreck.
can we follow up with him, see what his idea in terms of like either putting up the fence or
That's what I had asked for. I says, you know, show me what you're gonna do. Give
Yeah.
me a drawing. Show me what you're gonna do with the
Yeah.
fencing, because, you know, he's got the area across the street, he's got the area to the east of his building, and then he's got the area to the west of the building, which is
Mhm.
very low and is most likely gonna be the first to flood. So,
Mhm.
we kinda agreed that that would be the third and worst alternative, but
Mhm.
the area east of the building, you know, it's kinda small. How much is he gonna get in there? If
Right.
he fences that, is he still just gonna be overflowing across the street again?
Mhm.
So, I did ask for a plan,
Mhm.
you know, how they plan to move forward.
The U-Haul equipment, does that need to be in the fenced-in area, or?
No.
So the U-Hauls that are outside are empty. They're not
He's a
customer
U-Haul dealer,
U-Hauls.
I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm, he is. They do have some that have customers, rented out to customers and they're stored inside.
You talking
Maybe
about an
have
8-foot
him-
fence?
I'm sorry?
Are you talking about an 8-foot fence?
They had mentioned 8-foot fence,
Mhm.
yes.
Is that what
And,
Mike's?
you know, they were
like
talking
Carwood?
about the gate. The gate is $10,000 to get a sliding gate. He says, well, we could do a swinging gate for less money. Well, you know, in my experience, the swinging gate's not gonna last very long, and it's
Yeah.
gonna get crunched
Yeah,
up, and
no.
it's gonna be inconvenient. So, you know, everybody's recommending that he gets a sliding gate, and I would agree with that. It's gonna be better for everybody,
Mhm.
including the ones that are using it.
So how long have we noticed this problem that you follow up with him and then he just like keep asking more time? Like I wanted to see the pattern of like you following up with him, you give him suggestions and then he just don't do anything. Because like if it is being a ongoing process, then we have to do something, you know, to push from outside. But like if he is willing to work with and exploring like options, and then maybe we could, you know, give him a little more time.
So it's an ongoing issue. I mean, you know, he'll make an effort to clean up, but, you know, Terry, you know, he's running a business. The stuff's coming in every day, you know. He'll get out what he can and try to catch up, but I mean, it's coming in every day.
I would be glad to go and visit with him with you guys sometime.
How
because
long has he been there? About 4 years now?
I think, yeah.
Something like that.
It was when I first started.
And it's been like that almost from day one.
I'm just gonna say, it's been like that ever since he's got in there. He
our
doesn't
business
seem-
sat up on Main Street, it was so visible that
Yeah.
we had to keep track of everything.
Yeah.
And
I
we
think
had-
he thinks because he's, sorry.
He's-
he had visitors,
'cause he's hidden.
you know, and he doesn't want to be turned in because, you know, the state would be on him really bad. And, you know, you have fire marshal on him and EPA and
Mm-hmm.
So, why don't you guys get together and see if we can help him out any way we can?
Yeah.
We wanna keep him in town. We don't wanna shut his business down.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
be gone for about a week and a half, but when I get back, I'll definitely go down with you guys and visit with him, because I don't think he realizes, you know, the bad side
Yeah.
if the state gets involved, so,
Consequences.
exactly.
Okay, that's all I had.
Thank you.
All of you have seen Shane's report. Have you guys looked over that? Do you guys have any questions for Shane?
I don't have that.
Oh, you know that?
I've seen it. I have one. 8th and Elm. Campers parked in the yard.
Okay.
I thought we couldn't do that. Thought they had to be on cement
8th and
or
Elm?
gravel, right? Yeah. Harris, not Harris. Yeah,
6th and Elm.
6th and Elm, sorry.
6 and L.
6th and Elm.
Yeah. Harris, isn't it? Todd or Tim?
Todd, yeah.
Yeah, those campers been sitting there all winter long. And all last year, they sit in the yard. There is an ordinance, right?
Yeah,
Can't
they're
have 'em
supposed to be
sitting
on a
in your
hard
yard.
surface or something.
Yeah. You have to be on gravel or something. He's got a boat back there and it's an eyesore.
Where the campers are, is that even his lot?
I don't know. I'd like to know, I don't know. He mows it, so I'm assuming it's his.
I can find out.
Shane, that one that, I know you were down there on Clarence, does
Mhm.
that run, or do you know? I know.
After you and I spoke with Lieutenant Harris on that because it's on a public highway. And to my knowledge, he checked on it. The one on Clarence.
Because I noticed he aired up the tire and it lasted a day and a half and it's back down on the rim, but it hasn't moved in 3 weeks, 4 weeks now. He did air it up, but it's right back down. So I was curious if it ran or not. Okay.
And to be clear, I talked to Lieutenant Harris about it because it is on a public highway. He has the ability to take
Gotcha,
care of that a
okay.
lot quicker than I can.
Okay.
As it relates to the ordinance on animals,
Oh, no.
Keep us going. Seen him leave. He went and got some paperwork for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Keep it. Okay.
I just want to thank council for Shane. He's been a good addition, good help. I've been very busy with permits, especially solar permits, fence permits, pool permits. So it's a busy time of year, and glad to have him as good help.
As a newbie on this, as you are a newbie, is there any suggestions you have for us?
More's coming.
More's coming.
For chickens, you mean?
Please let us know if you do.
That's it.
Chickens?
That's
What are
it.
you talking
That's
about?
all there is. That's it.
Oh dear.
Okay. Nick, everything okay?
So these are the only two ordinances that we have that we can find.
that's most applicable to the conversation tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
I do have a question. I believe it's behind T&D, that steel that's sitting there. Is there any ordinance on that? There's been,
So-
there's
so
been kids
again,
playing around on it, and I don't want them to get hurt. And that's been numerous times that somebody said something.
Yeah, again, are we calling it a junkyard? Huh? You know, it's
If you drive past there, it's open steel. It's scaffolding and all that.
So that I'm on the same page, are you talking on the north side of the building or on the south side of the tracks?
Be the south side of the tracks. I haven't made it to the north side yet.
Those are those old dyes out there, isn't it?
Yeah, the storage.
Yeah.
Storage lot. He's
Yeah,
got
I
the
know it's
dyes
out.
and the steel tubs.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe go have a visit over there and just see what's going on.
I'm just asking because there is
That's, none of that's fenced in or anything?
none of that's
No.
fenced in.
For
It's
their
wide open.
liability, I would think the fence would probably be paying them
Yeah, there
as
used to be a
opposed to
parking
paying
lot,
a
wasn't it?
claim.
Yeah,
On-
what's the
on
parking?
Yeah, on the south side, at one time it was parking
They
lot.
started stacking all those old dyes over there, and they kept
Yeah.
going and kept going and kept going.
Yeah, after the after the building
After the
burned
building
down.
burned down.
What do you suggest, a fence around the property, or what do you
That
think,
would be
Nick?
the best, to my knowledge, to be a fence around there. Then
Yeah.
nobody can get access to that unless they climb it.
Right.
Put barbed wire on the top. The odds of people climbing it are.
Don't know about
Start
the
with the
barbed
discussion with
wire.
Shane.
I just seeing what we can do about it and all that. There's just don't want anyone to get hurt.
He doesn't live here anymore. He lives in Lafayette.
Hmm.
I know. Except
Okay.
for Sundays and Mondays.
Comes here every Monday.
anything else?
Mike goes down to your house and has dinner.
No, not yet.
Okay, any other inquiries from the committee members? Anything else? Anything else to talk about?
I got one.
Yes.
And I said I'd bring this up every month, traditions, the roof.
Yes. I have spoken to her, and I have some information I'll give you after the meeting.
All right, thank you.
I did take action. I went down and seen her.
Good, thank you.
I have some updated information. No, it's private. Okay, anything else? Everybody good? Motion to adjourn?
I'll motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You stay here all night. Thank you guys for being here.